So cool. Thank you, Gabriele. Thank you, Valem, for being here. I think this is super, super exciting. And really, really looking forward to this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here, and I think we have a lot of exciting things ahead. End of June, I heard there is something happening. Not sure what that is, right? But I think it's something we can certainly discuss.
In the top right corner. Spoiler alert. First of all of you guys, where are you from? Because this live streaming tool is pretty awesome. So in theory, again, we should have my community, Gabriele's community, and Valem's community, all of you guys together. So if you can hear us, reach us, see us, then please let us know where you guys are from. I will make the start. I'm from Berlin.
Yes.
So how about all of the other guys?
I am, originally Italian, but based in the Netherlands. So, and actually, folks can leave us a message. We can see if we can see them directly in the chat, so that we see if also that work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm from Belgium, and as you can guess by my accent, I'm from the French part. So yeah, this house.
There we go. Okay, we have some people from Turkey already, and good vibes. Yeah, good vibes is always important. I think that is the best thing. What we are all about. I think I don't know if we need to introduce ourselves. We all make awesome content. We all do cool stuff. But Gabriele, if you wanna, you can start like a super quick introduction about maybe ShapesXR, because we are like now combined communities over here.
Absolutely. I'm Gabriele, head of community at ShapesXR. For who doesn't know, ShapesXR is a design and prototyping tool for XR apps. It allows to start designing and creating spatially from the very beginning of the process. It's a collaborative tool. It can get multiple people together to really accelerate the flow, and of course, a great tool for hackathons. That's one of the reasons why we are here. And we have also joined many hackathons. We have seen some of the teams using ShapesXR really succeeding and winning in a sense, and having a lot of fun with it. So really happy to be here, being part of this initiative.
Cool. Valem, how about you?
Yeah, so my name is Quentin, and I'm the creator of Valem Tutorials, which is a YouTube channel dedicated to VR development. So I've been teaching VR since, like, I don't know, 5-7 years maybe. And so since that time, I guess I found some pretty nice tricks and things that I can show you to prepare your hackathon better and be ready when the time's needed. So yeah, and I'm also the founder of my own VR studio, which is Valem Studio, and we are also working on our own VR game, which I don't know if I will be able to talk more about in this live stream, but yeah.
Very nice.
Cool.
By the way, sorry, I see people that are joining in. I see people from India, people living in Finland, and people also graduating with your tutorials that are amazing, Valem. So people are.
Yes. Exactly. So what do we want to talk about today? As you might know, we will talk about hackathons. So I've prepared a couple of slides over here, and really super basic. I think the most important thing is I would love, let me just get this. I think this view is cool, and I will just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see us.
Good.
And you can see the topics we want to talk about. Really, like the fundamentals of hackathons. I mean, like, of course, you guys, most of you know what are hackathons, but I think I really want to drive into why they are so important and so helpful. I think these have been some of the best things I've ever done in my life. I've probably participated in multiple dozens of hackathons, 30, 40, I don't know, like just a ton back then. And now we are creating our own hackathons, which is pretty cool. And then really important, most people think that hackathons are just for developers, but that's why we have Gabriele here as well. I think there's a lot of benefits for non-developers, so designers, product managers, anybody who want to get started who's not a coder. And this is also why we will talk about how ShapesXR can play a big role in this, and then also like some cool tips and tricks how we can present those projects to the jury the best. So yeah, Gabriele, you want to start right away? So hackathons, why?
I also wanted to remind everybody here that is joining, is listening, that we are open to questions, right? So
yes, exactly.
The three of us just blabbering for an hour. I think it's really important for everybody, since we get very different expertise, right? I don't code. I am more of a, let's say, community person, how you communicate, how you pitch, how you present yourself, and how you maybe you design your app. But I think that there is a lot of interesting expertise here that I think. So actually, since given the schedule, I would say what and why. I will start with you guys because you are the technical folks. I've seen that there are a lot of these hackathons that are, let's say, unrestricted creativity. That's one of the things that I really see the value on. I mean, the either MIT Reality Hack, the present platform from Meta, and many more that have been over the past, the first half of the year have been just that, people experimenting, having fun with something new that they wouldn't have the opportunity to do if they were just in the boundaries of their own work, right? Their own office, their own team. So that is, I think, one great value. But what other value do you see from the hackathons and joining also from a participant perspective?
Yeah, Valem, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I can give some tips on how to, I don't know, prepare for hackathons, or do you want me to kind of explain how they work and
Mostly, like, what are the reasons why you think hackathons are so valuable to participants? Like, why should somebody join a hackathon? Like, why even care about that?
So there is a concept with when you are making stuff, really, when you're trying to think about a good idea for mixed reality application, for example, it's really hard to come up with an idea of your own just like this. But what hackathons are really good at is first to give you kind of a pressure in time, because you need to finish something in a certain amount of time, which is something on its own. But what I really like about them is that it kind of narrowed your brain by giving you sometimes a theme, by giving you some constraint with the other person, for example. And actually, our brain really works well under these constraints to kind of find new ideas. And I guess these are the two main things of why you should join a hackathon, is that it's so much easier to funnel your brain and your ideas by the pressure of the constraint, but also to actually finish the project, which is kind of the big task when doing this kind of XR development application. Thanks to, of course, the time that you need to finish the project. So, of course, these are the two things, which is like, okay, you can hackathon are good to actually learn and to finish projects and to give you ideas, but they are also good to make you learn new things. And of course, one of the, I guess, the biggest reason is they are simply fun. So that's just so cool to actually make something with other person and to actually meet, because we are often kind of separated when doing our own development work. And it's just so fun to finally meet some people and work with them together on a shared project. So that's all my reason on why hackathon are so good.
Yeah, I think like one thing I would add to that would be a huge thing, and this is interesting because this is also something that a lot of people on the hackathons that we have organized are asking for, is the relationships that you're building with other people. It's crazy. I've built so many friendships over hackathons, so many business partners, so many mentors or mentees, and it's just crazy because think about like you are, if it's a local hackathon, you are in a room full of amazing other people, like everybody who would sacrifice their weekends to be coding all day or to be building something all day. They must be really dedicated for that thing. So you will 99% find very like-minded and very interesting people there. And I think this is a huge benefit as well, next to the enormous amount of learning that you have, given that you are building something in a very small amount of time, even with like random people. So it's just like a win-win in every scenario possible.
Absolutely. And I see some questions. We might answer them later on.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. I don't know if we bring them on stage or if we keep talking and maybe address them later. Dinesh.
Yeah, I would probably do it in the end later on. So, guys, if you write down the questions, just like in the end when we have the open Q&A, then we can basically have all of you in one shot. Probably that makes more sense rather than being like here and there, mixed and match all the time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Gabriele, what would you say, like, especially for non-developers? Because Valem and I, we are mostly developers, I would say, and you're more on the design side, I would assume. So what can you what advice can you give to non-developers?
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you are, I think there is a lot of initial design and ideation because again, that goes into what are we building? How do we want to quickly build it? Do let's get through some quick iteration. Is this even fun remotely? And also, when you especially need to quickly get everybody aligned from the team, maybe it's 3 4 people, 5 people, right, that are working on this, and to get them aligned and understand what everybody's meaning. So what happens? You make some sketches, but then you're like, okay, how is this thing gonna work? And this is like the designer that maybe takes the initiative and show some idea, show some variants. Maybe he has done some quick research or has his own experience. So I think that from a non-developer perspective, I think it's super valuable the initial guidance that he can give, is also expertise of what works, what doesn't work in VR, and start building it. Now, there are many ways of doing it. Let's be honest. I mean, of course, I believe ShapesXR is a super powerful tool, but you can go directly with paper, but not necessarily paper drawing, but just like paper floating, like post-it, clay, or toys, or just like something physical, because those are the things that people are going to experience when they are in a 3D environment. Right, and that is what differentiate, as we all know, this new medium from our mobiles, our screens, and so on. So I think it's important. And the fact is that often, though, I've heard story. I'm not sure what is actually your experience. I feel that sometimes the non-developers feel kind of like threatened, or I mean, not threatened, but put aside, not that useful in these kind of situations. Because yeah, but what can I do? Well, I think that there is a lot of opportunities for them, especially with this, with a low, let's say, learning, with a slow learning curve. For example, like indeed, if you want to start prototyping an environment, you can do it even without knowing Blender, for example, in Shapes. It says, okay, this is the environment, this is how it could be, right? And then you give it to a Unity, could be an actual 3D artist, or it could be even the developer, and says, look, we have this layout that we made that I made in ShapesXR. You can get the Unity code and then have it in your own space directly, right? So all the work that then that designer has done is then reported directly to the developer. So the point is I think non-developer play a key role at the beginning and doing the initial iteration to see what works, what doesn't work. And I think they should find the right tools, the right means to communicate that initial idea and to iterate, even though they might not have the skills, right? Because not all designers come from have 3D skills, right? And that's the great thing about it. So you could directly design on your Figma and maybe create a UI and see straight away how that works in VR. Does it still work, right? And again, you don't need the precious time of the developer that is maybe building a bit of the backend to make this all work to do that. So the developers then the non-developer, the designer is empowered to build it on his own. So I think that it's sometimes hard, but that's one of the things that we really try to communicate, is that everybody could join this creation process, and especially designers, even if they don't have the 3D skills. We really believe that ShapesXR supports that initial stage.
Yeah, I mean, I also would absolutely agree that non-developers can have a huge role, especially in the beginning, when there's just like, what are you going to build? And then you can ideate really fast, a lot of ideas in a very fast amount of time to really just get a feeling. And this is also something like, for example, with ShapesXR, now like you have like interaction, you can like have these different scenarios, you can kind of like story block everything already right away. And then I think this is like a huge benefit, that while the developers are already setting up the foundation, like the environment, the interactions, like just like the foundational things that takes like 6 hours anyways in the beginning, the designers can already start to block out some of the like more detailed concepts, and then I think they can really complement each other very well. So that's like the beginning part. And then something that I would particularly focus as well is, somebody has to present the projects in the end. So we kind of had like on these hackathons that we have organized, we always had like a communicator person or like a presenter person. This is also something that definitely non-developers probably or maybe can do better, because they have been like thinking about the concepts for quite some time already. And I think this is also where they kind of like they are in the starting line, but they're also very important for the finishing line to kind of like create the packaging, create the video, for example, present it to the jury. But that would lead us to the next question. So maybe like Valem, you have like a couple of points, and then I would love to talk about how we can present or how every participant can present the projects in the best way possible.
Yeah, I cannot agree more with what both of you guys have said, because I've done the mistake so many times as a beginner VR developer. At first, when you get excited about the idea, you're trying to make it, and then it doesn't work, right? But you lost all of the time in the making process that you could have probably saved a lot by first designing the idea. And it's like a chicken running without its head, right? If you have if you have not the design properly set, it's so much even as a solo developer, it's really hard to kind of make the idea just by making it right. You have to think of it and have a strong design, and especially when doing it with a team, if you want to have the shared vision together, this really helps it. So yeah, I guess design is a very important step in making XR application, of course. And so I cannot agree more with what you guys said.
Yeah, and there is just one last thing. You also realize that by doing that early design iteration, you're also gonna save time because you don't implement the wrong thing, the clearly wrong thing that is like, oh, that's totally not gonna work, right? Because right. So that is another thing. And again, once you mentioned time during hackathon is especially tight, so every hour of rework counts. So I think that you can also split that responsibility and says, okay, the developer takes care about that, designer, hey, please, can you make me a layout for this UI? How are we gonna do it? What's the success message gonna look like when the user finishes the level? How's that gonna look like? Does it appear there? I mean, again, something simple, but then you can share responsibility.
Yeah, and I don't know, you said about the value also of somebody who is not technical when making this kind of technical application. And when I personally make stuff, what I like, the opinion that I really like about is the one from the person that are not technical, because they give you a totally contrasted aspect of what you think. As developer, we have really kind of the same process of making stuff and testing it. I know that some of my friends share the same thing. Okay, we know how this ray works, we can click on it. But somebody who is not technical, we kind of have another vision to test things. And maybe we'll say how things should be working for the wider audience, you know? So that's important.
Cool. Yeah, that's actually a good introduction to the next topic or next question. Like what would be the best way to present your projects to the jury? Like what should you kind of like have into consideration? I have a couple of ideas, and this is something that we teach our students a lot, to have a very strong focus on the presentation, because that is some problem that I see a lot in hackathons, that some people spend like 95% of their energy into the actual app, but then kind of like neglect the how everything looks and feels in the end, basically. And the problem is they will just get judged by the last percent a lot as well. And then it's kind of like not in a good balance if you don't know how to showcase your project in a good way. But what are your guys' experiences?
Yes, just a clarification. When you mentioned the presentation, are you talking about how everything looks and feel, or the actual process of standing in front of a jury and presenting what you have done?
Yeah, the second. So the actual process of the jury, and then how it's being portrayed on a website. Like how does it look in DevPost or some other tool? Like how is the thumbnail in quotes, like the presentation of this thing?
Valem,
go ahead, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a tips, but it is a technical tips, right? Of course, it is important to make trailer and video of your application, but everybody is doing it wrong, right? People just use OBS, for example, press on record, they play. But what first they do is they play super fast in a manner that nobody understands.
Especially in VR.
Especially in VR. So that's the first thing. But the second one is that actually what what the camera on your game see is not what the user see, right? Because inside a VR headset, first we are immersed and stuff like this, but we have a wider field of view, you know. So little Unity tips, or maybe any game engine. If you want to record stuff within your application, which is on PC, you can actually create a second camera that you will place under the main camera that will only display on the screen, so not on the eyes. And this camera, you can make it wider, right? And by making it wider, you will have a beautiful image that you can record and share to everybody. I have a tutorial about it. It's called a spectator camera. It takes like I don't know, 2 minutes to make, but it will it will just present the product so much better, because what I always see is this really narrow screen of hands moving and the player moving
and
like
very
this.
shaky.
Yeah, it's super bad. So please do it.
You just get motion sick.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a second point, is that you can actually give some I don't know the word. It's smooth out the movement of the camera that is trying to follow the VR headset. And when you look at VR trailer made by huge game, they all do this, right? They don't show exactly the screen. So that's a little tips for maybe the developer out there trying to create content around their game. Try to make a better camera. That will display more beautifully your games.
Even though I think that you can have a better camera, but if the video itself doesn't have a story, or was not recorded with the intent, because that you put it on and you put record, and then it's okay, we do like this. I mean, I think it goes also to what you were saying, Dinesh. I mean, you need to edit this properly, right?
Absolutely.
You need to have different cuts. You need to have, and then you can present it in different way, right? If let's say you have a wide angle, you can use a wide angle, 16:9, whatever you want. Square usually is the one that gives you the more out of the box, the more coverage. But the point is that you have one chance, and I do edit a lot of the VR video, like a lot. If anybody checks my channel, my own profile, the point is you need to remove hesitation. Because those are not interesting. So you just have 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, no longer than that, right? I mentioned. So removing hesitations, that's where something maybe doesn't immediately click or work, or it gets repetitive over a short period of time, right? An activity, if someone shoots at something 1, 2 times, 3 times, but you don't need to go through the whole thing, right? So when it is that's the moment that the video loses, people lose interest in the content, right? And then don't be afraid of treating your headset like a camera, right? So I'm saying, sorry, we are laughing because we see some questions popping up. We're gonna share.
Yeah, there. I feel you, man. We all feel you.
So the point is to treat your head as a camera. That means that when you are recording, you think, okay, if I have a camera holding like that, how would I move? And even doing some panning movements, some pull out, pull in, these are not stuff that you would do normally when you are playing. Of course.
Man, this is gold.
You would never do it, right? But for showcasing something, it's absolutely incredible. Plus, again, to keep the video interesting, also jump to some live action shots. So if someone does something, right, and maybe you have someone is testing it, and in a specific interesting moment, someone laughs or it's surprised or does something specific, so capture it and put it in the video, right? Again, it depends very much on the kind of, if you have mixed reality, that is another great way of doing that, right? So pulling in mixed reality and having other people showing around, that can also help a lot. But and pick a good music. It seems stupid.
It makes so much.
Pick a song that kind of like fits with the theme, and where you can, and if you want to go the extra mile, again, another job for non-developers. Your people love you if you're gonna make an amazing video of the app, because it's gonna 10x the perceived value. Of course, then again, it always boils down to the product, the final product, but having a nice video without hesitation, with nice camera shots, and with cuts to the beat, it's gonna dramatically increase your chances that people are going to be more interested and want to try it out.
Yeah, I really, really, really love what both of you said. It's just pure gold. I would say exactly the same, but now it came from you, so it's like almost verified. Like the things that I talk about so much is like have a story, have a purpose, like intent on how you record it, and then the technical things that Valem said is like, hey, you really don't want to have like something like this, like super shaky and super causing motion sickness, and you want to have like different angles, maybe even like something like third person, because you don't need to just record from your first person. You can also have like third person shots and stuff like this, and then kind of integrate them together. The cool thing is this is exactly what we are also teaching. We do have a dedicated workshop on that, which is called like packaging workshop on our upcoming hackathon. So that is definitely something that we are also trying to really dive deep into the judging and into the whole participation of the hackathon, so that you have something in the end that you can also show that is like not a playable APK, that is just like some video that you can show, because this is much better to distribute rather than having like a file that somebody needs to install and everything. And the cool thing is, actually, I just came to the idea like 2 minutes ago. We do have some work in progress of our own trailers that we did like as a testing on how to build a VR trailer that you guys can then use, that we will teach at our hackathon, CreatorCon, but also on my YouTube channel anytime soon. But yeah, Flavio, like in the background, if you want, you can play this real quick, and then you can kind of see. Ideally, Gabriele and Valem, you guys can roast us. This is still a work in progress.
I will, man. I will. No, are you sure you want to play it? It's gonna be dangerous.
So this credit goes to Jad and Flavio, so my developer and video editor. These guys, we taught them to teach how to make good trailers. So let's see how the work in progress looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like from one of our YouTube videos.
I think it's absolutely great. I mean, it's an example. And you see, without saying, you did a lot of what we were saying. Third camera.
Yeah, that's the funny part about it, exactly.
Music that was somehow fitting the environment and the vibe. I mean, I think it's so there. What would have, if I could think about something, see maybe a person, live action, a real person with
Yes.
might have just maybe added a bit of variety, but overall, it's clear what this is about, right?
No, exactly. I think it really shows what's inside the application, and the vibe, as Gabrielle mentioned, is really nice. We talked about good music. Here it is, really fit the vibe. But of course, yeah, I don't know exactly what's inside the game, but adding maybe some different feature once the user has understood what's going on inside the application kind of keeps the track and stop the thing from being too repetitive. So that's actually what I like to do in some of my edits and videos. Once somebody has understood something, it tends to either get unfocused or just stop wanting to know more. And so that's the breaking point where you want to show something new or something excited. So I don't know, for example, after the 2 slice, you will see a bomb coming, but the user slice the bomb, it explodes, boom, a new transition inside a cool shot and stuff like this. So yeah, it helps. I guess this kind of surprise helps to.
And it also very depends on how big or how big the app is. Like, for example,
exactly.
there a menu at the beginning where people could choose the difficulty, that could have been interesting, right? Maybe if there is something, oh, right, they built this kind of thing, right? But of course, it depends all. In this case, this might be kind of like a demo app to show something specific. So it could be just the content. It's just not there, right? But that's a different problem, right? That's a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I think that was like a really funny coincidence. Like you guys just exactly talk about all of these things. So we are now half an hour in. I actually would love to also make an announcement because we talked about hackathons all the time, but we haven't even properly announced something very cool yet. So first of all, we have Gabriele and Valem as partners already, and everybody who's listening from Gabriele's community and Valem's community, I think like you guys from my community have heard like 50,000 times by now already. So we've prepared a quick video that we can also play because that has a bit more effects and everything. So 3, 2, 1. For you. We are launching Europe's biggest in-person XR hackathon and you are invited. You and 150 other amazing XR creators from all Europe and across the world are invited to Berlin for 4 days of prototyping, meeting amazing people, having good food, being in Berlin, having amazing time basically, and most importantly, potentially getting funded by Meta and our other sponsors to really bring your idea into reality also. Since we only have 150 seats available, of course, I would highly recommend you to act fast because once you are approved, it is first come, first served. So don't sleep on this. Get ahead and apply now. We're looking forward to meeting you in Berlin, xrcc.events, and there we go. I will see you there. And now let's move on with the video. So, Gabriele, super happy to have you. Valem, you as well.
Nice. Thanks for the invite. It's super cool. Super cool video.
Cool. Yes, so Gabriele will be also, I mean, ShapesXR are sponsoring this also. I think the guys from Shapes know this, our community knows this. And Gabriele, you will be a judge, I would assume, for XR design, so for the ShapesXR part. And Valem also as a mentor and judge, which is pretty awesome. So, and we have other cool partners as well. And
so I also now, based on all this conversation, I expect cool videos. I only expect cool videos of
yes. Exactly. Cool. So going back to our slide, and I also would love for you guys to throw in some questions. And I think this is like something that is maybe we can just focus on this part because the projects to build is kind of like depending on the hackathon. But I would love to talk about the mistakes. I talk a lot about how can everybody have a good experience in hackathons really by avoiding some crucial mistakes. And you guys want to start right away on what on what mistakes? Yeah, something just broke here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope I'm good.
Somebody's trying to break into your house in the middle of a meeting. What is going on?
I'm just getting stabbed live right now.
But who will make the huge Europe hackathon if somebody attacks you?
Yeah, you guys can take over that then.
Okay, maybe I can go ahead with some
yes,
mistakes
go
to
ahead.
avoid.
There is just someone asking, and if it's online or face to face. So
this is face to face.
No, just that we address that because I think it's face to face in Berlin. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be awesome. So
exactly.
We are so used to making and having online hackathon. For once, it is face to face, so that is a huge
in Europe.
In Berlin.
Okay, so
yes.
mistake number one that I see a lot in hackathon, which is maybe the biggest reason why some people never finish hackathon or get burnout in the middle of it, is the scope of the project, of course. Maybe you've heard this, maybe you know already about this, but please it's better to have a simple idea but to over deliver than to have a big idea that you barely do. Okay, so that's why I think it's when you think about the best XR game, they are super simple but super well done. We've seen, for example, the Fruit Ninja VR, for example, with saber that you need to slice fruit. Super simple, right? But it is not because it's simple that it is not fun. Same for Beat Saber, for example. You are slashing some cubes, another slashing game. But yeah, the idea is simple, but it's so well done that the game is a success. The game was not a success because of a complex idea, right? The game was a success because it was a simple idea that a lot of people understood, but was super well executed. And that's what I believe is important when during a hackathon. it is to at first please design something that can be done in a few days. That will be simple, but once you make it, once you achieve a certain point, that's where you can add more complexity to it, right? But it is better to have the complexity on top of something which is achievable, that to try to create a MMO in VR, which lots of a multiplayer game in VR with lots of stuff and
I did that
moving
mistake.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
but then maybe a follow-up question, Valem, because I'm curious. So, yeah, pick a achievable scope. That seems to be the most important thing to start with. But how do you make sure that things don't get out of hands? I mean, you have a team of 4 people, excited, creatives, that are gonna be there, and they say, "Oh, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be amazing." And then they realize, "Oh shit, that's not gonna work." So, how do you keep that in check?
You're trying to keep that. The only that's a good question, actually. How do you keep check? Make it the priority. If something needs to be done on the application, make sure that it fits the first version of your application, the vision that you have, and that you can achieve it in time. Because the worst thing that you want to have is somebody trying the application, a developer, a manager, but which is a feature creep. And these things always come from, in my opinion, they always come from the fear of the game not being enough, right? Somebody is making a game, the game is fun, but it is still work in progress. But I don't know if everybody will love it, so let's maybe add something on top, or another feature that, because if we have all of these features, at least somebody will find it cool, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So this kind of script comes from this, in my opinion. So
if you stick with the initial vision, questions every time that should we add this, should we add that? It's like, wait.
Rather remove than add.
Right. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's not just about scoping at the beginning, but prevents that other stuff gets added.
What do you think about it? I'm rethrowing the question back to you, Gabriele and Dinesh. What are your tips on this? What do you think?
Gabriele, you want to start? Okay, I go.
Right. So I'm curious now.
So, I mean, first of all, like that's my number one tip that I also give, like just like Valem, you guys also said already, have it simple. Simplicity really is key. I think almost always it's like the over ambition that kills the project, especially in hackathons. And I've been to, again, like multiple dozens of hackathons, and the projects where it was really simple but executed well were just like 100 times better, where it was really complex, but then you have like a lot of half-baked things. And that is just the biggest problem, I think. But again, I don't want to repeat everything that Valem says. I think the other very, very, very important tip that I can give, that I always give, almost enforce it to my students, actually, so important is that you should really build early. So build early, build often. Don't, like, by build, I mean like put the deploy to your headset and try it out. Because I see a lot of people, a lot of groups that like build everything in Unity or any game engine until like the last 1 hour, and then they try to deploy it, like build and run, and then it doesn't work, and then they have an error, and they're like, oh shit, this doesn't work. Or they get it to the quest, but then the colliders are not working, or some random thing doesn't work. It's always going to be the case. So I would always recommend, like, every 6 hours maybe, just have a stable version, have a stable build. And also another reason for that is, usually with hackathons you have less sleep than normally, and you might break your whole project. Like if you're like on too little sleep, you're like super tired, you just like delete some lines, and it just like everything crashes. And then if you don't have a fallback, you just hate your life, and just everything is miserable. We had guys in our teams who, like, also communication is very important, because we're like 2 people working on the same feature, and then one guy just deleted the code of the other guy and then just put this one, but that was not working anymore, and then it was just like very messy. But again, having version control additionally to deploying your project often and early is extremely important, I would say.
I mean, and I think this is also valid when you are thinking about the design side, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
That is also another important thing. When you see, like, okay, this flow is not working, or this environment is not working, or this, why don't we have this interaction instead? So I think that being in headset, of course, not everything can be done in headset. right?
Mhm.
Of course. So, but again, I think having also a good understanding of what the mockup, what the flow looks like when you are in
Mhm.
headset, and again, that's why I think also ShapesXR can help a lot with that, is to get the designers, to get that mockup, get that high level understanding, maybe even get other people with you in the headset that says, okay, this is what we are agreeing, this is what we are building high level. People do this, then do this, then they do this, and then they do that. Sometimes it's just actually a role play of how things could work, right? It's as you can do it, for example, with paper, with clay or whatever, but instead you do it in VR on a headset in Shapes, and then you role play what it is so that everybody understands. But then you are testing it and you are doing that in VR already. So I think it's very close to what you said, Dinesh, but also for the design side of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are like so many mistakes that you can do in a hackathon because it's just like very stressful. I think another thing is just have a good time. Probably it's also very important. Like have a good time, talk to the other people. Like, I mean, you have I would say the biggest benefit of hackathons is just relationship building. I think just meeting awesome people, having a good time, making good memories and making new friends is more important than building the most badass project you can do, I would say, personally at least. And I think like if you combine it by trying to scope it in a way that makes sense for you, like don't go like over ambitious, so that you also have the possibility to talk to other people, to eat some pizza, to have some good time, to take a walk, to kind of get a fresh mind, and don't neglect sleep. Like, I mean, now we're all getting older. I think we all agree that it's not a good strategy to run like all-nighters all the time. I think having proper sleep makes you much more productive rather than cutting on sleep. But that's also my opinion. What do you guys think about that? And then I think we can talk about the last part of the hackathon trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, a good sleep sounds like a good idea.
Even hackathons, yes.
Yeah, no, sleeping is great. We should trade more often. Yeah.
There was actually one thing that came to mind while you were mentioning that, and it's not necessarily related to the hackathon. I mean, it is part of the hackathon, but so when you are busy, you also don't kind of like document or get anything. And documentation, it could be even just picture of the team having fun, a whiteboard, or a little video of how you were testing this. Because this, I think, is another point. I mean, you are there to build a project. You are there potentially to win, compete, have fun, but also for your own, let's say, portfolio in a way, for your own story.
Perfect.
Right?
You know the agenda. Very good.
So the
I love
point
that.
is, when you are in there, right, you want to find ways to promote your project, right, to share what you have done. And what I have seen very often is you are doing that with a hackathon, then you have a bunch of pictures, and then you kind of like 2 or 3 days when you recover from the stress and everything, you make one post that is this long with these 4 pictures. I think it's kind of a shame. I've seen other people doing some other incredible job. For example, writing a Medium post about it.
Yeah, exactly. That is so good.
Right? This is what we have done. This is like maybe a little clip of what people were doing. This is like some of the process. This is the early prototype, how it broke. So, but all these things you will need to document them during the hackathon. Afterwards,
after it's kind of done,
very little chance that you're going to be able to do that. So I think that's very important. And this gives you the opportunity to say, okay, once, and I mean, this is paramount for everybody, but repurposing your stuff. So if you have a Medium blog, there is going to be video there is going to be images, there is going to be text, there is going to be edit. So this allows you the weeks afterward to keep sharing and posting stuff around the project, right? Once you post just the video, and people think, yeah, but I already talked about it in the Medium blog. Look, nobody saw it. I mean, let's be honest, nobody saw it. Even if hundreds of people did, there is a very, very little chance that people are going to see it twice. And if they do, they will say, amazing.
Nobody will care.
Not a problem. So
yeah, exactly.
This repurposing, I think it's very, very key. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we all need that.
So do that, because you would need you can repurpose this in different ways afterwards and
Yeah.
tag people. Also, honestly, if people tag Shapes and this is, oh, thanks everybody sponsor, so it's like, it feels like, I don't know, it's good that you tag us, you should tag us, but the point is, why tag everybody? You put like shitload of people in there, and they even lost
I hate that. Yeah.
why doing that? I mean, use it.
Yeah.
Hey, we had a great time using Shapes for this. Oh, thanks you to this guy, my mentor, who helped me with this. And make different posts, maybe with a picture each, and that's it, right? Because at
Yeah.
the end, I know that this might feel like overhead. Might feel like overhead. Oh, I have to do this. But at the end, it also depends very much on what you are trying to achieve, right? Maybe this could be overhead. Maybe you shouldn't do it, and maybe you shouldn't waste your time. But if you think as this as an opportunity to grow professionally, to show some of the work that you have done, I think
And you have already done it.
you have done it, right?
Exactly.
So reusing that and repurposing and finding good way and tagging in different situations, different people, organizations, the organizer, whoever it might be, you have easily 2 months of content in front of you that you can post on your own social media, on your own portfolio, on your own Medium, or so on. So that is just my take.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, also, like, just to add on that, or Valem, you want to go?
Yeah, what else can I say on top of this? I think yeah, everybody can agree on what Gabriel said. It's I mean you can continue, but I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think the other couple of things is, it's like the documenting part is so crucial, and people sometimes are afraid or like kind of like scared to post on LinkedIn or whatever software it is. It doesn't have to be LinkedIn, even though it's one of the most powerful tools out there, or social medias. But again, like having a Medium post, even recording some videos or posting it somewhere, and just like you said, I think it's so much better to have like multiple smaller ones. Like, I mean, it's like 4 days of hackathon, so like each day you could have a little story, like, hey, this is the beginning, this is the welcome, this is the, we just meeting so many people, and then you have a working prototype, and then you have kind of like your failures, your frustrations, your struggles, and people then see like 1 day later, boom, we kind of solved it, and that people like ready for you. I think you can make such a beautiful story of this event, and you also like, you are already in the coolest event possible, on the planet, of course. So everybody will see this and be like, wow, this is so cool. And they will see your learnings as well. And the other thing that Gabriele said, which is also pretty important, is kind of be mindful with like tagging like 5,000 people, because like, I don't know, maybe somehow, like, I don't know, Gabriele, maybe about you, but sometimes I get like comment like tagged in like a post where like 50 other people are like, who the fuck cares? But then if you're like kind of mindful with that, I mean, like, you will meet us there anyways, like Gabriele, me, and Jayla maybe also. So then we also like, you can just come to us, make a selfie, like, hey, having a good time here with your teammates. There's just like so much fun. And the biggest thing, like the biggest advantage that you guys have, if everybody is doing this kind of like this, we are kind of like cross promoting each other, because every time you tag me and or Gabriele and or Valem, for example, Valem, you have now enabled the tagging, which is good. Each of us will kind of comment on that, or like that, share that, and that kind of like pushes you further up again. And that is kind of like the cycle that you can have by also just taking other people who will then like it, comment it, and then it just like goes up and up and up. And I think this is definitely something that you should not underestimate if you want to build your personal brand, which is, for me, like the best thing I've ever done in my whole life, I would say. For Valem as well, because building YouTube is building your personal brand. So I think we will not be here together if you would have not done that.
And there is another point, is also that you have done it, you have shared it, and then there are going to be people that will engage in one way or another, right? So some people like, some people might comment, and of course that goes beyond the connection, the networking that you will do at the event, right? So that should be, I think, the top priority, because human connection matters so much more than whatever you might get online. Let's be honest, right? But once you have done it, you share, then you have people that like your post, or maybe make a comment or whatever, especially if that is thoughtful, it teaches people something, right? If something that teaches others, it's going to have so much more impact, and people will have like an extra input, extra reason to comment or share. This means also that then you can re-engage back with these people. Oh, thanks for liking the post, just wanted to connect. you don't know where this connection might end up.
Yes, you never know. That is the biggest thing.
And especially when you are at the beginning, when you're not necessarily an active, let's say, content creator, right? You can count that everybody that connected with you might have some potential to spark a conversation or lead you somewhere, right? So it's certainly document, post, reshare. Never forget, of course, the human connection when you're at the event, but also do not forget to build on that work that you have done, right? If someone likes a medium or share on LinkedIn or whatever that might be, just say, hey, thanks for liking. Were you at the event? Maybe we didn't catch each other, or whatever. You can see geographically if they are the same geography as you. That might be another reason for connecting. So just be really mindful of these things, because they could change your career.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
XR world is really small, like really, really, really small. Like I've seen like the most like active XR people on the planet like 50 times, like on different things all the time, and it's just like crazy to see.
Now it's crazy to say that now we used to have a portfolio and share it by hand to people face to face, but now it's like you can put your portfolio somewhere for thousands of people to
Exactly.
see. It can be seen by the XR community. It can also buzz and be seen by a lot of people. I know some people that actually got work contracts just by sharing their work, and somebody see it and they were like, hey, this could be actually a feature that I could see for my company and stuff like this. So that's a good way to kind of find. That's personally how, and I guess like Dinesh, or all my whole work is around social media. I'm here making YouTube content on Valem tutorials, but with this, it's kind of an open door for all sorts of different projects as well. So I guess it's really important to share your work that you're doing right now. With the audience that you can get on social media, and yeah, it's really important also as well to emphasize this community aspect. Often a lot of people post stuff and they never get involved into the conversation. They never try to answer a question because they only feel like, okay, maybe if I put my content out there, it will work on its own. But social media is a work of input output, so you need to give at all time to make it work. Oh.
Wow, that's serious. I hope nobody.
Yeah, was it the guy that tried to kill you, Dinesh?
Yeah. Yeah, there are some serious things going on. Maybe I have to
Yeah,
block my camera view in a second.
yeah.
Yeah, I think to close this off, like the next like roughly 10 minutes, I would love to also answer some questions, some Q&A sessions. So guys in the chat on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you guys are, feel free to let us know any questions, and we are super happy to reply to all of them.
Yeah.
I think I saw a couple of them during the our talking, but now please just throw it back in, and then we will give all of our thoughts and ideas on any of your questions.
Maybe we have also some from past questions.
Yes.
And we can start touching on.
Exactly. Let me scroll up and see.
I can answer maybe one of the first questions we had
Oh
from
yeah,
Rick,
here.
which was any roadmap for beginners. I actually, if you're looking into creating VR application on Unity, I have some tutorials on my channel which you can check out. I have, I think, a tutorial series that will teach you all the foundation that you need to interact and with XR. I also have, I think, 3 hours tutorials, which is super long, super complete, where we are actually making a full game. So not just throwing you some interaction that you can make, but actually using them to make a story. It's a kind of the story. The game that we build is an escape game where we are stuck in a spaceship, and you found a rock that has a fuel inside that can restart the engine of the spaceship. And yeah, basically in 3 hours you can make this on your own. And yeah, and I think it can already give you some hint and some stuff to learn to get started on the hackathon.
Cool. So I think there's one other question that we have also got. Sorry for a focused question. Based on the developer vision, how do you align yourself and future goals with the most impact you can make on the different industries, construction versus video games entertainment? Yeah, Gabriele, you want to start or should I?
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is that skills that you learn, I think, should be interchangeable. So when you learn a skill in terms of design or game development, those should be things that can change between construction, video games, entertainment, or tools like XR tools or whatever. I think that what defines a lot, and it depends also your stage. So at the beginning, usually people cannot be necessarily that picky about, oh, I really want to make a game, right? But maybe your passion is with games, right? So, but let's say you're beginning, maybe you are more dependent on what is the opportunity that arrives on you, right? Or that you seek, right? But it's more dependent on what's your network, what are the current open position that I can find. And at that point you will learn, build the skill, build a portfolio, the curriculum that would allow you then to then say, okay, now I have this in, let's say, VR trainings that is boring as hell for, let's say, imagine that is boring as hell. I want to start building games. Okay, great. Let's then build that, and let's then find something that can do a game, right? So I think it shouldn't be necessarily you are on a track and you do one or the other. You build the skills and then you can expand from there.
Cool. All right. We have a couple of other questions coming in as well. Yeah, now it's like the questions. Hi guys, XRCC app development will be focused on specific topics or is it completely open? It's a mix of both. So we will have a couple of tracks available. So roughly we will have 5 tracks. We have 3 meta tracks already because they are the lead sponsor. We have a global track for ShapesXR. So any project using ShapesXR is enabled or eligible basically. And then we probably, I can't spoil anything yet, but we probably have 3 really awesome epic industry tracks. So from 3 individual big companies that most of you guys know. And you can build for any of these tracks if you want to win the big prize money. And then if you don't want to build for any of those, which is also possible, I would not recommend it because that's kind of the joy out of it, and also like the whole business opportunities come from building on these tracks. But again, if you are like, hey, I don't want to do that, blah blah blah, we don't force you to do that. You can still build your own thing, but that is not in any kind of competition or any prize money. So it's open, but again, I would just recommend to choose one of these roughly 6 available tracks. Cool. How do I hide it? Okay. So another question. I manage a VR company. I'm trying to work out how my team does this. Do we have teams setting up who wants to learn more as a group? So is that specifically for XRCC, or how would you guys interpret that question? Work out on me.
So not sure here I've grasped the full questions.
I'm not 100% sure. So maybe Sir MC Vidal the Great also, you can just repeat it and make it more. Yeah, here, this game jam. Okay, so it's for this game jam. So the way that we do the grouping and the teams, you can come as a team. You can arrange your team and then apply also as a team. But most of the people, I think like roughly 70%, are coming solo, and they will build the team formation on the first day. So you can kind of like meet and greet with each other. You can look if you are into the same topic, and then if you also like each other, and then you can kind of form the teams on the spot. But it's also possible to come with the team and then add somebody onto it. So it's very, very flexible. I don't want to have any restrictions. I think like the general principle for XRCC, most of it is really free spirited, and we don't want to put like unnecessary restrictions and do most of these things. So you can come as a team and you can also come solo. Cool. Yeah, we have like 2 minutes left. Let's get like one last question in, and then let's see. Yeah, I think that is a MR question. Have any of you created a shared or multiplayer MR experience? What type of technical challenges do you face, for instance, tracking 3D objects within the same space or room? Yeah, this can be a very, very long answer, I would say.
I've been actually, that's actually one of the, I've been working actually on making a tutorial about this. At first I was like, okay, it can be really simple if I do this like this, maybe but the subject has probably old school vids knows, it gets really, really tricky. But what I can suggest you, if you are looking into a shared space, so multiplayer mixed reality experience that takes place in a shared space, there are some really, really great projects made by Meta, so sample projects that you can find on their website, and that can give you kind of a canvas for building on top of it your own. I don't know if I can share something here, but if you go into the Meta GitHub Unity project, you will see some example of this kind of share multiplayer mixed reality experience, and they are using both Unity netcode and Photon as well. I guess that Discover is one of them, and there is also the cabinet, the cryptic cabinet, which is a really good one. So both are using shared space multiplayer, and yeah, really technical. I do not advise you to do this for game jam, please. But if you want to put yourself into a challenge, that's a good way to do this. But maybe these two projects will help.
Cool. All right, guys. Then, yeah, thank you so much for, first of all, jumping on this live stream. I think that is super, super cool to have this kind of engagement with all of the people watching. And then thanks for you guys watching and asking the questions. Really, really looking forward to having you all at XRCC. I think this is going to be super, super cool. We will have this as a common theme also. And yeah, Gabriele, Valem, any final words?
I look forward to seeing everybody and everybody's amazing video presentations and social media posts and ShapesXR prototypes. So really looking forward to see you guys end of June in Berlin.
Yeah, thank you for having me and on this live stream. It's not every day that I can do this, and it was pretty fun. Yeah, really happy to see finally a person-to-person hackathon in Europe. That's really cool, and congrats on Dinesh for all the work you are putting to create such an event. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool, wonderful. Then see you all soon and have a great night.